Look, if you're an IT support engineer, a QA tester, or honestly anyone who spends their day elbow deep in APIs, you know exactly how incredibly tedious it is to constantly switch contexts between testing environments. It's dreaming. Well, in today's explainer, we're walking through a highly practical, structured approach to Postman environments and variables. This is going to entirely eliminate your manual context switching, put a hard stop to those expired token headaches, and realistically reclaim about 30 minutes of your daily workflow. So let's get right to it.
Okay, let's dive into this. We really need to start by confronting a massive pain point. Picture this. You're knocking out support tickets, right? You've got a collection of API requests all perfectly set up to test an issue on your staging server. But then suddenly, an urgent ticket drops in for the production server. Now, if your URLs and auth tokens are hard-coded, meaning you literally typed stagingapi.example.com right into the URL bar, you've got to manually delete that, type in the production URL, fetch a completely new production token, and carefully paste that in. It's a messy, incredibly fragile process. Honestly, hard-coded values are just the enemy of efficiency because they literally break your workflow every single time you have to shift gears.
And man, we've all been there, right? There's this great quote from a Postman user on the dev community that perfectly validates this daily struggle. If you're dealing with JSON web tokens or JWTs that expire every hour or so, your day is just constantly interrupted by those dreaded 401 unauthorized errors. You have to drop whatever you're doing, run a login request, carefully highlight that giant string of gibberish, copy it, and paste it into your active request. It gets old so fast. For IT support teams handling high-pressure tickets, this constant manual copy-pasting isn't just annoying, it introduces human error and eats up incredibly valuable debugging time.
And this brilliantly illustrates the way out of that mess. Think about the old way, a rigid, hard-coded URL that only works for one specific server. Compare that to the dynamic approach. By replacing the domain with double curly braces surrounding the word base_URL, we've instantly created a variable. When you see that text light up in vibrant Postman green, it means the value is completely dynamic. You could point this at a public API like JSON placeholder for testing, and then instantly swap it over to your own staging server without rewriting a single letter of the request. This one simple change transforms a rigid request into a highly reusable template that can target absolutely any backend you point it at.
Now, to make that dynamic variable actually work, we've got to understand the foundational concept of an environment. Think of an environment as a flexible container. It holds a very specific set of variable values, like your base URLs, your database IDs, and those pesky authentication keys, and it ties them all to a distinct context. So you can have a development container, a staging container, and a production container. Your actual API requests stay exactly the same, but by simply swapping out the container, those requests are going to execute against entirely different systems. It's like magic.
So let's look at exactly how to set this up in the Postman interface. It's actually incredibly straightforward. First, you just look up to the top right corner for the Environment Manager dropdown and give that a click. Second, select Add New Environment and name it something clear, like JSON Placeholder Staging. Finally, you'll see a table where you can start dropping in your variables. Add a key called base URL and drop the actual JSON placeholder URL into the value. Then, add another key for your access token and paste your staging token right in there. Save it, and boom, you have just created your first environment.
Now, setting these up correctly is absolutely crucial, especially when we start talking about security. These are the absolute best practices straight from Postman's official documentation. First, always name your variables consistently across every environment. If it's base URL and staging, it absolutely must be base URL and production. Second, and please don't skip this, when you add an access token or a password, change the variable type to secret. That completely masks the value on your screen. Third, you're going to see two columns, initial value and current value. Leave the initial value completely empty. The initial value syncs to the Postman cloud and out to your team, and you definitely do not want to leak your personal production tokens. Keep your tokens exclusively in the current value column, which stays safely local to your own machine.
Once your environment is secured and saved, you get to use that double curly brace syntax everywhere. It literally permeates your entire collection. You can use it in your request URLs, as we talked about earlier. You can drop double curly brace access token right into the authorization tab. You can plug variables inside custom HTTP headers, or even right into your JSON body payloads when you're firing off a post request. The absolute beauty of this whole system is that if a token expires or a server IP unexpectedly changes, you just update the variable in the Environment Manager exactly once. That's it. It then instantly updates every single request across your entire Postman workspace.
But wait a second. Even using variables, you still have to manually update that current value when your token finally expires, right? Well, what if you didn't have to? What if we could level up this entire workflow and just completely eliminate token copy pasting using automation? Because remember, Postman isn't just some static client. It actually has a really powerful JavaScript execution engine built right under the hood.
So the crucial point here is this incredible feature called the pre-request script. Just like the name implies, this is a bit of JavaScript code that runs right before your main API request is sent out. By using a quick PM send request function, we're basically telling Postman, hey, before you do anything else, quietly send a login request to our authentication URL behind the scenes. When it replies, grab the new token from the response and automatically set it to our access token environment variable. By placing this little script at the folder or collection level, Postman will automatically fetch and inject a fresh token for you every single time you hit send. You'll literally never see a 401 unauthorized error again. It is a total game changer. Let's put all of this together into a real-world, high-pressure support scenario. Imagine a critical bug is reported by a VIP customer in your production environment. As an IT support engineer, your very first job is to reproduce that exact issue safely on your staging environment. You're using a backend, maybe JSON placeholder or your own company's APIs, and you need to run the exact same sequence of API requests. But you need them pointing to completely different databases using completely different access tokens. And because it's a critical prod bug, time is absolutely of the essence. Now, what's really interesting about this setup is the hero moment it gives you. Because you used variables and you built out your staging and production environments beforehand, you don't rewrite a single thing. You simply go to the top right of Postman, click the dropdown, and select Staging. You hit Send, and boom, you get the 200 OK response with the expected data. Then, with one single click, you toggle that dropdown over to production. Your pre-request script automatically grabs a fresh production token. You hit Send, and there it is. You get the 500 internal server error. You've instantly, safely, and perfectly reproduced the bugs side by side, all just by toggling a dropdown menu.
The results of this after workflow are pretty staggering when you think about your daily productivity. You've achieved zero manual contact switching. You've entirely eliminated that frustrating, soul-crushing routine of expired token copy-pasting. You've empowered yourself to perform instant, side-by-side environment comparisons during those high-stress debugging sessions. And honestly, by standardizing these variable names, you've helped establish a single source of truth that your entire team can actually rely on. You've taken a messy, highly manual testing process and transformed it into a completely optimized, automated suite. So, by leveraging environments, utilizing that green double curly brace variable syntax, and dropping in a simple pre-request script, you have completely automated your API context switching. You're no longer fighting your tools are finally working for you, which leaves us with one final, very important question. Now that your workflow is this efficient, how are you going to spend the 30 minutes you just saved yourself today? Take these strategies, open up your Postman workspace right now, and start building those environments. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and happy testing.